Welcome back everyone to Data Science for Everyone. Today we're going to be looking at
Demand schedule, a table that shows a range of prices for a certain good or service and the quantity demanded at each price. Demand curve, a graphic representation of the relationship between price and quantity demanded of a certain good or service with quantity on the horizontal axis and price on the vertical axis. Supply of goods and services. Supply is the amount of some good or service a producer is willing to supply at each price. Quantity supplied is the total number of units of a good or service producers are willing to sell at a given price. The law of supply, assuming all variables that affect supply are held constant. If the price goes up, then the quantity supplied goes up. If the price goes down, the quantity supplied goes down. Supply schedule and the supply curve. The supply schedule is a table that shows the quantity supplied at a range of different prices. Supply curve is a graphic illustration of the relationship between price, shown on the vertical axis, and quantity, shown on the horizontal axis. Graphing the supply curve. The supply curve S is created by graphing the points from a supply schedule and then connecting them. The upward slope of the supply curve illustrates the law of supply, that the higher price leads to the higher quantity supplied and vice versa. Equilibrium, where demand and supply intersect. The equilibrium is the combination of price and quantity where there is no economic pressure from surpluses or shortages that would cause price or quantity to change. Therefore, quantity demanded is equal to quantity supplied. Equilibrium price is the price where quantity demanded is equal to the quantity supplied. The equilibrium quantity is the quantity at which the quantity demanded is equal to the quantity supplied are equal to a certain price level. Surplus or excess supply is at the existing price, quantity supplied exceeds quantity demanded. The shortage or excess demand at the existing price and the quantity demanded exceeds the quantity supplied. Equilibrium, where demand and supply intersect. The demand curve D and the supply curve S intersect at the equilibrium point E. The equilibrium price is the only price where quantity demanded is equal to quantity supplied. At the price above equilibrium, quantity supplied is greater than quantity demanded, and therefore there is excess supply. At a price below equilibrium, quantity demanded is greater than quantity supplied. There is excess demand. Shifts in the demand and supply for goods and services. Ceteris paribus, a Latin phrase meaning other things being equal. Any given demand or supply curve is based on the ceteris paribus assumption that all else is held equal. The demand curve. The demand curve can be used to identify how much consumers would buy at any given price. Shifting the demand curve. If income increases, consumers will purchase larger quantities, pushing the demand curve to the right, as we see in Figure A, thus causing the demand curve to shift right in Figure B. Shifting the demand curve. Increased demand means that at every given price, the quantity demanded is higher. Therefore, the demand curve shifts to the right from D0 to D1. Decreased demand means that at every given price, the quantity demanded is lower. Therefore, the demand curve shifts to the left from D0 to D2. What factors affect demand? The shift in demand happens when a change in some economic factor other than price causes a different quantity to be demanded at every price. Factors that affect demand: income, changing tastes or preferences, changes in the composition of the population, price as a substitute or a complement changes, changes in expectations about the future. How factors affect demand. In Figure A, we see that a list of factors that can cause an increase in demand from D0 to D1. In Figure B, the same factors and the direction is reversed. We can see that there can be a decrease in demand from D0 to D1. Types of goods and services. A normal good is a product whose demand rises when income rises and vice versa. An inferior good is a product whose demand falls when income rises, and vice versa. Substitute, a good or service that can use in place of another good or service. Complements, a good or service that are often used together so that the consumption of one good tends to enhance the consumption of another. The supply curve. The supply curve can be used to show the minimum price of a firm will accept to produce a given quantity of output. Supply price. The cost of production and the desired profit equal the price a firm will set for the product. Changing the price. Since the cost of production and the desired profit equal the price a firm will set for a product, if the cost of production increases, the price of the product will also need to increase. Shifting the supply curve. When the cost of production increases, the supply curve shifts up to a new price level. Shifting the supply curve. Decreased supply means that at every given price, the quantity supplied is lower. Therefore, the supply curve shifts to the left from S0 to S1. Increased supply means that at every given price, the quantity supplied is higher. Therefore, the supply curve shifts to the right from S0 to S2. What factors affect supply? A shift in supply is when a change in some economic factor other than price causes a different quantity to be supplied at every price. Inputs are factors of production, the combination of labor, materials, and machinery that is used to produce goods and services. Factors that affect supply: natural conditions, input prices, technology, and government policies. How factors affect supply. From Figure A, we see that a list of factors can be used to cause an increase in the supply from S0 to S1. In Figure B, the same factors, and their direction is reversed, can cause a decrease in supply from S0 to S1. Changes in the equilibrium price and quantity, the four-step process. The four-step process is used in determining how an economic event affects equilibrium price and quantity. Step 1. Draw the demand and supply curve model before the economic change took place. Step 2. Decide whether the economic change affects demand or supply. Step 3. Decide whether the effect causes a shift to the right or to the left, and sketch the new curve on the diagram. Step 4. Identify the new equilibrium, then compare that to the original. Here's an example of a shift in supply. Using the four-step process, how did excellent weather conditions during the summer affect the quantity and price of salmon? Here's an example of a shift in demand. Let's assume that from 2004 to 2012, the share of Americans who reported obtaining their news from digital sources increased from 24% to 39%. Using the four-step approach, how has this effect of the consumption of traditional sources such as print news, media and radio, and television news? Here we see a combined example. Figure A shows that a higher labor compensation causes a leftward shift in the supply curve and a decrease in the equilibrium quantity, as well as an increase in the equilibrium price. Figure B shows that changes in tastes away from postal services caused a leftward shift in the demand curve and decreases in the equilibrium quantity and a decrease in the equilibrium price. Superimposing the two previous examples on top of one another, we see that the supply and demand shifts cause changes in the equilibrium price and quantity. We need to make sure and note that movements and shifts are different. A shift is one curve never causes a shift in the other curve. Rather, a shift in one curve causes the movement along the second curve.
If you guys like this video, please make sure to comment, subscribe, and hit that like button, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.